Drake Curse. The Drake Curse started when fans noticed that every time Drake publicly rooted for a team or player, something always went wrong. This curse followed him all through the NBA. Back in 2013, he became the Toronto Raptors global ambassador. Right after that, the Raptors kept making the playoffs, but couldn't even sniff the finals for 5 straight years. Then came 2016. Drake reportedly dropped $60,000 betting that the Warriors would beat the Cavaliers in the finals. That was the same year the Warriors won 73 games, but they ended up losing in 7 games. Then in 2019, Drake tried to break the curse himself. He showed up wearing Sixers shorts during Game 7 against Philly. The Raptors won on a buzzer beater and went on to beat the Warriors in 6, grabbing their first title ever. But the curse wasn't dead yet. In 2024, Drake bet $500,000 on the Mavericks to beat the Celtics in the finals. Dallas lost in 5. That was his biggest loss ever. Between 2022 and 2025, Drake made 13 total NBA bets. He won 7 and lost 6. He wagered $3,860,000 total and made about $1,790,000 in profit. His biggest win came when he put money on the Nuggets to beat the Heat 4-1 in the 2023 final. That netted him $660,000. But despite that, the Drake curse kept showing up at the worst times. The teams he bet on either collapsed late or were upset when they weren't supposed to be. The Raptors only won after he pulled some reverse psychology, and the Mavericks got destroyed after he backed them. The whole thing became more than a trend. It turned into a meme, something fans just kept noticing over and over again. At this point, it's hard to call it a real curse, but the timing's wild. No matter how much he wins or loses, the internet's never gonna let it go. It's fun, it's weird, and somehow it just keeps going. NBA 2K cover curse. Fans started calling it a curse after so many NBA 2K cover stars ran into injuries, trades, or just strange seasons right after landing on the cover. The latest one is Jason Tatum. After leading Boston to a championship and landing the cover of NBA 2K25, he tore his Achilles in May during the playoffs. Before that, Kobe Bryant was honored posthumously on the 2K24 cover, and the Lakers followed that up by losing in the first round. Devin Booker was on the 2K23 cover, and Phoenix got bounced in the second round that year. Luka had a good run in 2022, making the Western Conference Final, but Zion Williamson, who followed, had injury issues right after his cover year. Anthony Davis was on the 2K20 cover and helped the Lakers win a title, so not every case has been bad. But Giannis was on the 2K19 cover, won MVP, and still blew a 2-0 lead in the East Finals. Kyrie was traded right after his 2K18 cover drop and ended up missing the playoffs that season with knee surgery. Paul George was on 2K17, got swept in the first round, and then got traded. NBA 2K16 had Curry, Harden, and Davis. That was the year Curry lost the finals. After going up 3-1, Harden didn't make any All-NBA team, and Davis's team missed the playoffs. Durant's 2K15 season ended with him playing only 27 games after a foot injury. LeBron was on the 2K14 cover and lost the finals to the Spurs. NBA 2K13 had Durant, Griffin, and Derrick Rose. Rose didn't play at all. Griffin hurt his knee, and Durant got knocked out in the second round. The legends like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird had no curses since they were already retired. But when Kevin Garnett got the 2K9 cover, he ended up missing the playoffs with a knee injury. Shaq got back-to-back covers in 2007 and 2006. The year after the second one, the Heat got swept in round 1. Chris Paul had a great year after 2008, and some stars thrived, but the timing of those bad breaks keeps fans believing. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, curse of the 8th pick. Since 1994, not a single player drafted 8th overall has made an all-star team. That's 3 straight decades of players falling short of elite expectations. It started with Brian Grant in 1994, a solid pro, but never an all-star. Sean Respert followed and barely made a dent. Kerry Kittles was a starter, but not a star. Adonal Foyle could block shots, but not much else. Larry Hughes had flashes, but didn't break through. Jop played defense, but that was about it. Chris Wilcox was just okay. TJ Ford's body gave out on him. Rafael Araujo barely stuck around. Channing Frye could space the floor, but was never dominant. Brandon Wright dealt with injuries. Joe Alexander and Jordan Hill couldn't stick. Al-Farouq, Aminu, and Terrence Ross were valuable role players. Brandon Knight looked promising until injuries changed everything. KCP won a title but never got selected. Nick Stauskas, Stanley Johnson, and Marquise Chris all failed to develop into stars. Frank Ntilikina could guard anyone, but struggled on offense. Colin Sexton scores in bunches, but still no all-star selection. Jackson Hayes is still raw. Obi Toppin has bounce, but hasn't secured a starting role. Walker and Dillingham just got started. 31 players, and not one all-star. A few had great moments or strong careers, but none reached the level you'd expect from a top 10 pick. It's not a made-up curse. It's just a crazy pattern that keeps going. It's wild that so many different players, skill sets, and draft years could all have the same result. Maybe Wagner or Dillingham changes the story, but right now, that 8th pick spot is cursed. The only 5 8th picks that you can say truly panned out to star level are Jamal Crawford, Franz Wagner, Andre Miller, Rudy Gay, and Dyson Daniels. But still, 0 combined all-star appearances for these 5. Whether it's pressure, bad fit, or just weird luck, something always seems to go wrong. Blazers center curse. For nearly 50 years, Portland's had terrible luck with big men. It started with Bill Walton. He was the first overall pick in 1974 and led the Blazers to their only title in 1977. The next season, he broke his foot and never fully recovered. He ended up sitting out the entire 78 to 79 season and left the team. Then came Sam Bowie in 1984. Portland picked him over Michael Jordan, even though Bowie had leg injuries in college. He kept fracturing bones and played only 63 games over his final 4 years with the team. In 2007, Portland took Greg Oden, first overall, instead of Kevin Durant. Oden missed his whole rookie year with knee surgery and played just 105 total games for the team. Joel Przybyla was solid for a while, but in 2009, he ruptured his patella tendon and dislocated his kneecap. That basically ended his time as a consistent contributor. Festus Ezeli never even played a game for the Blazers after knee surgery. Zach Collins had a ton of promise after being drafted in 2017, but shoulder and ankle surgeries kept him out for over a full season. Then there's Nurkic. In 2019, he suffered compound fractures in his leg and missed almost a full calendar year. Even when he came back, he was never the same physically. More recently, Robert Williams was traded to Portland in 2023. He already had a long injury history, and in March 2025, he needed surgery again. That ruled him out for several more months. DeAndre Ayton also joined Portland and missed time with knee issues. There was even an ongoing joke online asking which Blazers centers would survive the season. No matter who Portland brings in, something always seems to go wrong. It's like they're cursed at that position. Whether it's freak injuries, long-term rehab setbacks, or players who can't even get on the floor, the trend never stops. Fans have watched it happen again and again. The Blazers just cannot catch a break when it comes to their center. Next, Jordan Curse. The label was meant to be a compliment, but it became a burden. Players called the next Jordan were hyped beyond belief, and that pressure stuck with them. Harold Miner was first. He was drafted 12th in 1992 by the Heat and instantly got the nickname Baby Jordan because of his insane bounce. He won 2 slam dunk contests and was electric at USC, but he couldn't do much else. He averaged 9 points and was out of the league by 25 due to injuries and a limited game. Then came Jerry Stackhouse, the 3rd overall pick in 1995. He went to Jordan's school, North Carolina, and got slapped with comparisons immediately. Stackhouse had a long career, averaging almost 17 points and making 2 all-star teams. He even led the league in total points in 2001, but he never reached that elite level people expected. Things got awkward when he played alongside an older Jordan in Washington. He later admitted that entire situation just felt wrong. Then there's Vince Carter, drafted 5th in 1998 and traded to the Raptors. Carter also came from UNC and had the same aerial brilliance. Air Canada became a global star after the 2000 dunk contest, and he made 8 all-star teams. He played for 22 seasons and scored over 25,000 points, but he never won a title or MVP. Despite how great he was, the comparisons to Jordan always followed him. Each of these guys had serious talent, but the expectations were unfair. Miner was hyped too early. Stackhouse got stuck in Jordan's shadow, and Carter's ridiculous athleticism made people assume he'd be the next best thing. The media and fans created this label, and once it stuck, it was hard to shake. It's not that they failed, especially Carter. He had a legendary career, but it's that they were expected to be someone who's almost impossible to replicate. The next Jordan curse didn't ruin their careers, but it definitely added pressure. Being good wasn't enough. Anything short of greatness felt like a letdown. That's what made the curse so powerful. It wasn't about ability, it was about expectation. Knicks lottery curse. Over the past decade, the Knicks have repeatedly missed on lottery picks while striking gold later in the draft. Frank Ntilikina was taken 8th in 2017. He had strong defense but barely scored, averaging 5.5 points over 4 years. He never locked down a rotation spot and eventually left in free agency. Kevin Knox went 9th in 2018. He showed promise early with nearly 13 points per game as a rookie but never developed. He ended up getting traded in 2022 and bounced around the G League after that. Obi Toppin was picked 8th in 2020. He was hyped as a polished scorer, but mostly came off the bench and averaged 7 points per game across 3 years. After being traded to the Pacers in 2023, he had career highs, including a 34-point game and 21 in the playoff. Meanwhile, the Knicks hit big outside the lottery. Mitchell Robinson, drafted 36th in 2018, became a rim protector and elite finisher. He's been a defensive anchor and had major playoff moments, including a huge Game 4 in 2025 against Boston. Quickly, picked 25th in 2020, gave the Knicks consistent scoring and nearly won Sixth Man of the Year in 2023. After being traded to Toronto, he dished out 18 assists in one game. Quentin Grimes was also taken 25th. This time in 2021, he became a 3-and-D starter, putting up almost 12 points per game in 66 starts. He was traded to the Sixers in 2025 and dropped 44 and 46 in separate games. Miles McBride, another 36th pick in 2021, started as a defensive specialist and turned into a solid two-way player. He signed a 3-year deal in 2023 and came up big in the 2025 playoffs with strong defense and clutch scoring. The contrast is wild. Lottery guys like Ntilikina, Knox, and Toppin never lived up to their draft slots, while Robinson, Quickly, Grimes, and McBride outplayed their projections. That's what keeps the Knicks lottery curse alive year after year. Chase Center curse. Ever since the Warriors moved from Oracle Arena to Chase Center in 2019, fans have noticed a serious shift. At Oracle, the crowd was ruthless. That roarical energy gave them one of the best home court advantages in the league. But when they left Oakland for San Francisco, things changed. The Chase Center was shiny and new, but the vibe just wasn't the same. Higher ticket prices meant fewer die-hard fans and more corporate energy. That difference started to show on the court. In their first season at Chase, the Warriors went 15-50. Steph missed most of it, and Klay was out the entire year. It was the worst record in the league. They bounced back eventually and even had a great home record in 2022, but the inconsistency never fully left. In 2024, they went 46-36, but didn't even make the playoffs after losing in the play-in tournament. The results just haven't matched the Oracle days. Even analysts noticed. Mike Breen once pointed out how Chase finally got loud during a regular season game against the Knicks, but that was an exception. The usual vibe just doesn't intimidate opponents like it used to. It's not just about noise either. The franchise has battled injuries almost nonstop since the move. Between Klay's back-to-back season-ending injuries, Curry's broken hand, and a rotating door of role players, it's been hard to build any rhythm. And it's not like the arena itself causes injuries or missed shots, but fans started calling it the Chase Center curse because of how many things have gone wrong. The Warriors had a dynasty at Oracle. At Chase, they're trying to start something new, but the weight of those old expectations looms over everything. Whether it's the crowd, the court, or just bad timing, the new home hasn't brought the same success. The potential is still there. The team has talent, and Chase Center has had some big moments, but until they consistently win again and build a new identity, fans are going to keep talking about the curse. Right now, it's more than just a superstition. It's a pattern. Clippers curse. The franchise has battled chaos ever since it started. Back in the Buffalo Braves days, they traded for Moses Malone, but waived him before he played a single game. He became an MVP somewhere else. Then they moved to San Diego, then Los Angeles, and fell into the hands of Donald Sterling. His ownership was filled with racism, allegations, lawsuits, and bad management. He was finally banned from the NBA in 2014 after a leaked recording. On the court, the curse hit hard. Danny Manning was the first overall pick in 1988, but tore his ACL in his rookie year. Terry Cummings was taken second overall in 1982, but got diagnosed with a heart condition. Sean Livingston's injury in 2007 nearly ended his career and almost cost him his leg. Blake Griffin broke his kneecap before he ever played, and later missed a playoff run with a toe injury. Chris Paul broke his hand during that same 2016 series. Kawhi Leonard tore his ACL in 2021, missed the playoffs that year, and hasn't had a fully healthy season since. The injuries never stopped. Then came the playoff collapses. In 2015, they led the Rockets 3-1 and still lost the series. In 2020, they had another 3-1 lead, this time against the Nuggets, and blew it again. When they finally made the Western Conference Finals in 2021, Kawhi was out again, and they lost to the Suns. Every time they looked close, something always went wrong. The move to the Intuit Dome in 2024 was supposed to end the curse, but after decades of blown chances, fans still remember everything. It's not just about losses or injuries, it's about both happening at once, year after year. Whether it's bad luck, bad timing, or bad decision, the Clippers never seem to escape it. From waived Hall of Famers to stars falling apart in the playoffs, the pattern is brutal. Until something changes, people will keep calling it a curse. And honestly, it's hard to blame them. The evidence is all there. Dominique Curse. In 1994, the Atlanta Hawks made a move that still haunts fans. They were first in the East. Michael Jordan was playing baseball, and the path to a championship looked more open than ever. Wilkins was averaging over 24 points and had just made his 8th All-Star team. The Hawks were 36-16 when they traded him to the Clippers for Danny Manning. It was the first time a conference leader had ever dealt its top scorer mid-season. The front office thought Manning's versatility would help in the playoffs, but he was also on an expiring contract and made it clear he planned to test free agency. Wilkins was 34, but still elite. After the trade, the Hawks kept winning and finished 57-25. But when it mattered, things unraveled. They barely got past the 8th-seeded Heat in 5 games. Then they fell to the Pacers in 6 during the second round. Manning averaged just under 16 points in the playoffs. The gamble didn't pay off. After the season, Manning signed with the Suns. Wilkins ended up in Boston. The Hawks got nothing back long-term. To make it worse, when Wilkins returned to Atlanta that March as a Clipper, he dropped 36 points and grabbed 10 rebounds. That was his way of showing Atlanta what they gave up. The trade wasn't just about numbers. It fractured team chemistry and shook the locker room. Fans and analysts still call it one of the worst timing trades ever. Atlanta had a real shot in a weakened conference and chose to mess with success. He was the franchise. Letting him go mid-season during a title chase turned out to be a massive mistake. Even today, that season feels like a what if. What if they had trusted the roster that got them to first in the East? That decision defined the Hawks era and added to the list of NBA curses. The Dominique Curse reminds teams not to underestimate chemistry or discard loyalty, especially when a championship window is wide open. Jerry Buss Curse. From 1979 to 2013, Jerry Buss turned the Lakers into the gold standard of basketball. He brought in Magic, Kareem, and Pat Riley, launched the Showtime era, and made the Forum the loudest stage in sports. Buss didn't just win, he made winning look fun. The Lakers grabbed 5 titles in the 80s and added 5 more in the 2000s, behind Shaq, Kobe, and Phil Jackson. He was one of the first owners to treat basketball like a spectacle. The Laker girls, courtside celebrities, and national buzz weren't accidents. They were part of his plan. But after Buss passed away in 2013, things changed. The team honored him with JB patches, but on the court, the results weren't the same. Jeanie Buss took over as controlling owner, while Jim Buss handled basketball decisions. That led to infighting, front office chaos, and lawsuits. In 2017, Jeanie pushed Jim out completely. During those post-Buss years, the Lakers spiraled. They missed the playoffs for 6 straight seasons, had coaching drama, and burned through draft picks, trying to find a path forward. Then came the bubble. In 2020, the Lakers won their first title since Jerry's passing. It was a high point, but it didn't last. Injuries, chemistry issues, and questionable roster moves followed. While the team stayed in contention, the consistency that defined the Buss era was gone. Some fans started calling it the Jerry Buss Curse, not because the franchise fell apart completely, but because that same magic disappeared. Even with stars like LeBron and Anthony Davis, something always felt a little off. The Lakers still have history, banners, and talent, but they also have the weight of trying to live up to a legacy that's impossible to replicate. Buss made every season feel like a Hollywood story. Since then, the drama's been there, but not always the results. His vision built a global brand and shaped the NBA's entertainment model. His absence left a gap no one's quite filled. The Lakers are still chasing his standard. Until they find lasting success again, fans are going to keep wondering if the curse is real or if greatness just left with the man who created it. Landry Shamut Curse. From 2020 through 2022, Landry Shamut kept finding himself in the same nightmare. No matter which team he joined, his postseason run always ended the same way, a Game 7 loss in the second round. It started with the Clippers in 2020. They were up 3-1 against the Nuggets, but collapsed, and Shamut hurt his ankle early in that final game. A year later, he was with the Nets. They pushed the Bucks to 7 games, but couldn't close it out. Then in 2022, it happened again, this time with the Suns. Dallas came into Phoenix and crushed them in Game 7. That made 3 straight years where Shamut's team got bounced in the exact same round, in the exact same way. By then, fans had noticed. The Landry Shamut curse was born. Even though he wasn't always playing big minutes, his name became linked to heartbreak in the second round. In 2023, the Suns lost again in the semis, but it only took 6 games that time. Shamut wasn't blamed, but the narrative stuck. The following year, he was with Washington, but they didn't even make the playoffs. Finally, in 2025, things changed. Shamut landed with the Knicks. His role was smaller, but the team made a deep run. They beat Boston in 6 games and moved past the second round for the first time in his career. No Game 7, no heartbreak. The curse was over. It was one of those weird sports patterns that felt too perfect to ignore. Every loss had followed the same script. 7 games, second round, season over. But finally, the streak snapped. Fans stopped holding their breath when Game 6 ended. Shamut didn't rewrite history, but he finally outran the story. Whether it was a coincidence or just bad timing, the pattern is part of his career now. The curse might have been more meme than reality, but when something happens that many times in a row, people notice. And when it finally breaks, that's worth noticing too. Shamut's playoff journey finally has a different ending. Lil B Curse. Kevin Durant learned the hard way that mocking someone online can apparently summon mysterious basketball misfortune. Back in 2011, he tweeted about not understanding Lil B's relevance, calling him whack. That's all it took. Lil B, the self-proclaimed based god, put a curse on Durant, claiming he'd never win a title unless they faced off one-on-one. It sounded like a joke, but after Durant lost in the finals the next year, people started connecting dots. The Thunder's brutal meltdown in the 2016 Western Conference Finals only poured more fuel on the fire. Lil B took credit for it all, but when Durant joined the Warriors later that year, Lil B saw that as a peace offering and lifted the curse. And just like that, Durant won 2 championships in a row. Coincidence? Maybe. Hilarious? Definitely. Then there's James Harden. In 2015, he started doing a little cooking dance celebration, but didn't give Lil B any credit. Big mistake. Lil B warned him, then cursed him. Later that postseason, Harden turned the ball over 13 times in one game, setting a record. Guess who showed up to take credit for that too? Yep, Lil B. 2 years later, after the Rockets flamed out again, Lil B showed up on ESPN and officially lifted the curse. Harden hadn't asked, but hey, who's turning down supernatural forgiveness? D'Angelo Russell got a taste too. In 2016, Lil B briefly cursed him for some unknown offense, but that one got reversed fast. Lil B said he didn't really have anything against the guy and lifted it with barely a mention. Now, the based God curse has basically become NBA mythology. It's not actually real, but fans still bring it up, like it's part of the league's rulebook. If a star player starts choking in the playoffs, someone's pulling up Lil B's tweets. The whole thing's like a strange performance art experiment that just kept snowballing. It blends sports with internet antics and music culture in a way only this generation could make happen. Whether it's curses, coincidences, or just plain chaos, the NBA keeps proving it's never just about basketball. Post-Michael Jordan Bulls curse. After winning their 6th title in 1998, the Bulls hit the reset button so hard, they practically erased themselves from relevance. Michael Jordan retired again, Phil Jackson walked away, and Scottie Pippen, plus Dennis Rodman, were out the door. The dynasty wasn't just over, it was detonated. The result? A team that went from historic dominance to pure chaos. The 1998 to 2004 stretch was rough. They went 13-37 during that first lockout season, and then followed it up with a 17-65 record, which set a new low. For 6 straight years, they didn't even sniff the playoffs. And sure, they drafted guys like Elton Brand and Tyson Chandler, but that didn't stop the losing. It was like watching a sequel nobody asked for and nobody liked. Things finally picked up when Derrick Rose landed in Chicago. He brought real hope. He won Rookie of the Year in 2009, and by 2011, he was the youngest, most valuable player in league history. That team won 62 games, but then came the nightmare. Rose tore his ACL in 2012, and everything started crumbling. What could have been a serious title run turned into years of what-ifs. From 2013 through 2023, the franchise just couldn't find steady ground. Coaches kept changing. Tom Thibodeau, Fred Hoiberg, Jim Boylan, Billy Donovan. It was like musical chairs, but with less rhythm. Key players came and went. Jimmy Butler, Joakim Noah, Powell, all gone. And with that went any shot at long-term consistency. Since 1998, the Bulls have only won 5 playoff series. That's it. They got bounced in the first round over and over. The only real deep run came in 2011 when they hit the Eastern Conference Finals before Miami shut them down. Every other season has ended early, painfully, and sometimes just embarrassingly. This curse isn't some supernatural hex. It's a slow bleed, a mess of decisions, injuries, and instability that's haunted Chicago for more than 2 decades. They've had flashes of talent, but no real return to glory. And that shadow from the 90s, it's still hanging over them. Phoenix Suns finals curse. 3 times they've made it to the NBA Finals, and 3 times they've been slapped with the same 6-game heartbreak. The Suns seem stuck in a loop where every championship shot ends the same way, right at the edge of glory, and then gone. The first taste came in 1976. The Suns were still a baby franchise, only in their 8th season, and somehow they made it to the finals. They ran into the Boston Celtics, who weren't exactly known for sharing. Game 5 was pure madness. Triple overtime, wild clutch shots, and enough drama to make soap operas look tame. Gar Hurd hit a miracle jumper to send it to a 3rd overtime, but Boston still walked away with that win. And then the series in Game 6. Then came 1993. Charles Barkley had just been crowned Most Valuable Player, and everything felt like it was finally lining up, until they ran into a brick wall named Michael Jordan. The Suns dropped the first 2 games at home, managed to fight back on the road, and looked like they might just pull off a miracle. But then John Paxson sank that back-breaking 3 in Game 6, and it was over. Fast forward to 2021. After what felt like a basketball eternity, the Suns were back. They had a 2-0 lead on Milwaukee, and the buzz was real. But Giannis had other plans. 4 straight wins later, the Bucks were holding the trophy, and the Suns were left wondering how it happened again. Booker lit it up on offense, but even that wasn't enough to shake the curse. And here's where it gets strange. Every single one of those finals runs ended in 6 games. Not 5, not 7, always 6. It's like the script keeps getting reused. That pattern's given fans and media plenty of reason to believe this team's stuck with the finals curse. There's talent on that roster and plenty of fight left. Maybe one day they'll get past Game 6. Maybe next time the script finally changes. Celtics injury curse. For a team with so many banners in the rafters, the Boston Celtics have sure had their share of brutal setbacks. It's like every time they start building something special, the basketball universe throws a wrench or a full toolbox into the plan. It started with Larry Bird. In the late 80s, his back started giving out on him, turning one of the league's smartest and toughest players into a shell of himself. He still balled out, but the injuries caught up, and the Celtics faded fast in the early 90s. Then there's Kevin McHale. In 1987, he basically played on one leg. Dude had a broken foot and kept going there through the playoffs. Tough, yes. Smart? That decision wrecked his career long-term and weakened the team during an important window. And who could forget Len Bias? Drafted 2nd overall in 1986, the Celtics thought they were getting the next superstar. 2 days later, he died of a cocaine overdose. Just like that, their future cornerstone was gone before ever stepping on an NBA floor. 7 years later, it happened again. Reggie Lewis collapsed on the court in 1993, was diagnosed with a heart condition, and tragically died during off-season practice. He was only 27 and already an all-star. The Celtics lost another franchise player in his prime. Then in 2009, Kevin Garnett hurt his knee. The Celtics were defending champs and looking sharp, but Garnett missed the entire playoffs. And without him, they didn't make it past the 2nd round. 1 year later, Kendrick Perkins tore his knee in Game 6 of the finals. He couldn't suit up for Game 7, and the Lakers took the title. That one still stings. Then a few years later, their new face of the franchise, Isaiah Thomas, hurts his hip and is never the same. Now fast forward to 2025. Jason Tatum, the face of the franchise, tore his Achilles during a playoff game. He's out for the whole next season, just when it looked like Boston was ready to make another big push. It's back to recovery mode. That's the curse. One crushing injury or tragedy after another, always at the worst possible time. From Bird to Tatum, the pattern just won't let up. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.